Greetings. Welcome to another episode of Knowledge is Power in conversation with Dr. Mrs. Challa Mahalakshmi, an eminent lawyer of Visakhapatnam, a city of destiny, and who did her doctorate in Constitution. Today, she will be discussing about the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. Over to Dr. Mrs. Challa Mahalakshmi.
Hello and welcome to another topic of importance, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, which came into force in 2006. I am going to give the details about this subject briefly. This act is made for effective protection of fundamental rights to life and equality guaranteed under the Constitution of India to the women who are victims of domestic violence, whether it is wife, mother, daughter, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law and sister, or a woman who is in live-in relationship. Domestic violence: if any person harms or injures or endangers the health, safety, life, limb or well-being of any female and causes physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal and emotional abuse and economic abuse, he is guilty of committing domestic violence along with his family members, including women. Domestic violence include harassing, harming or injuring and endangering a female to coerce her and other persons related to her to pay dowry or give property and any valuable security. If anyone causes physical or mental injury or harm to pay money to any female person, the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act comes to their rescue. Any act or conduct that bodily pain, harm or danger to life, limb or health or impair the health or development of the female victim, including assault, criminal intimidation and using criminal force, amounts to domestic violence. Sexual abuse includes any conduct of a sexual nature that abuses, humiliates, degrades or otherwise violates the dignity of women. Verbal and emotional abuse includes insulting, ridiculing, humiliating, name-calling any woman and repeated threats to cause physical pain to any person in whom the aggrieved person is interested, amounts to domestic abuse. Deprivation of all or any economic or financial resources to a female is entitled under any law or custom or which the aggrieved person requires out of necessity, including household necessities for her and her children, and non-payment of rent and maintenance are some of the acts of domestic violence. If any person disposes household effects and alienates movable or immovable assets, valuables, shares, securities, bonds, and the like, or other property in which a female has an interest and prohibits or restricts access to resources or facilities which she is entitled to use or enjoy by virtue of domestic relationship, including access into the home. Such acts amounts to domestic violence. Protection officers. Under the Act, protection officers are appointed to help the victims of domestic violence, and any aggrieved person may approach the protection officers who have to help the victims to get legal aid, police aid, access to shelter homes, medical aid, and file applications for necessary reliefs. Applications for protection order and other reliefs. Any aggrieved person may also file a petition in a court of law for protection order, residence order, maintenance order, and compensation for harassment and troubles caused to her and her children. A police officer, protection officer, or magistrate who receives a complaint of domestic violence shall inform the aggrieved person of her right to make an application for obtaining a relief by way of protection order, an order of monetary relief, a custody order, a residence order, a compensation order, or more than one such order under this Act. Of the availability of services of service providers. Of the availability of services of the protection officers. Of her right to free legal services under the Legal Services Authorities Act, and of her right to file a complaint under Section 498A of the Indian Penal Code. If a victim of domestic violence or on her behalf a protection officer or a service provider requests the person in charge of a medical facility to provide any medical aid to her, such person in charge of the medical facility shall provide medical aid to the aggrieved person in the medical facility. Execution orders. The protection officer shall ensure that the order for monetary relief granted by a court is complied with and executed in accordance with the procedure prescribed under the Code of Criminal Procedure, and shall be under the control and supervision of the magistrate, and shall perform the duties imposed on him by the magistrate and the government. Any victim of domestic violence or a protection officer or any other person on behalf of the aggrieved person may present an application to the magistrate seeking protection order, order for payment of maintenance, past and future, maintenance for payment of rent, and compensation or damages for the injuries caused by the acts of domestic violence committed by the respondents and custody of children. Though the Act mandates that the magistrate shall fix the first date of hearing, which shall not ordinarily be beyond the 3 days from the date of receipt of the application by the court, and shall endeavour to dispose of the application within 2 months from the date of first hearing. The cases are being dragged on for years. On the application of an aggrieved person, the court has to conduct the proceedings in camera. Orders that will be granted are: every female person has a right to reside in the house of her father husband or father-in-law, whether or not she has any right, title or beneficial interest in the same, and shall not be evicted or excluded from the shared household or any part of it by the respondent except by due process of law. The magistrate has powers to pass protection orders in favor of the victim and prohibit the respondents from committing any act of domestic violence, aiding or abetting in the commission of acts of domestic violence, entering the place of employment of the aggrieved person, or if the person aggrieved is a child, its school or any other place frequented by the aggrieved person. The magistrate may pass an order directing the respondent from attempting to communicate in any form whatsoever with the aggrieved person, including personal, oral or written or electronic or telephonic contact. Alienating any assets, operating bank lockers or bank accounts used or held or enjoyed by both parties jointly by the aggrieved person and the respondent, or singly by the respondent, including her stridhana or any other property held either jointly by the parties or separately by them without the leave of the magistrate. The court passes orders against the culprits, restraining them from causing violence to the dependents or other relatives or any persons who gave the aggrieved person assistance from domestic violence. Committing any other act as specified in the protection order. Where domestic violence takes place, the magistrate will pass a residence order, restraining the respondent from dispossessing or any other manner disturbing the possession of the victim from the shared household, whether or not the respondent has a legal or equitable interest in the shared household, directing the respondent to remove himself from the shared household, restraining the respondent or any of his relatives from entering any portion of the house in which the aggrieved person resides, and from alienating or disposing of the house or encumbering the same, and from renouncing his right in the shared household except with the leave of the magistrate. The magistrate directs the respondent to secure same level of shelter or alternate accommodation for the victim female as enjoyed by her in the house, or to pay rent for the same. The magistrate directs the respondent to execute a bond with or without sureties for preventing the commission of domestic violence, and direct the police officer to give protection to the victim and to assist her, the person making an application on her behalf, in the implementation of the order. The magistrate may demand the respondent to return the possession of the aggrieved person, her stridhana, or any other property or valuable security to which she is entitled to. The aggrieved females are entitled to monetary relief to meet the medical expenses incurred and loss of earnings suffered and loss caused due to damage and deprivation of property from the respondent to her and their children as a result of the domestic violence and their maintenance. The monetary relief granted under this section shall be adequate, fair, and reasonable, and consistent with the standard of living to which the aggrieved female is accustomed. They are also eligible to get appropriate lump sum payment or monthly payments for maintenance. If the respondent fails to make payment in terms of the order, the magistrate may direct the employer or a debtor of the respondent to directly pay to the aggrieved person or to deposit with the court a portion of the wages or salaries or debt due to or accrued to the credit of the respondent, which amount may be adjusted towards the monetary relief payable by the respondent. The magistrate may, at any stage of hearing of the application for protection order or for any other relief under this Act, grant temporary custody of any child or children to the victim person or the person making an application on her behalf. The aggrieved woman is also entitled to compensation and damages for the injuries, including mental torture and emotional distress caused by the acts of domestic violence committed by the respondent. Any victim of the domestic violence is entitled to interim orders of maintenance, protection, compensation, custody of children, and either relief. Jurisdiction. The Court of Judicial Magistrate of the first class or the Metropolitan Magistrate within the local limits of which the persons aggrieved permanently or temporarily resides or carries on business or employment, or where the respondent resides or carries on business or is employed, or the cause of action has arisen, has jurisdiction to grant orders and to try offences under this Act, and any order made under this Act shall be enforceable throughout India. The reliefs already mentioned may be sought in any suit or other legal proceedings before a civil court, family court, or a criminal court between the victim and the respondent, but unfortunately such courts are not allowing such applications, and necessary steps have to be initiated for making such courts to accept the pleas. Appeals. Appeal to the Court of Sessions lies within 30 days from the date of which the order made by the magistrate or order is served on the aggrieved person or the respondent. Offences. Violation of protection order or an interim protection order by the respondent shall be an offence, and the culprit shall be punishable with imprisonment of either prescription for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine which may extend to 20,000 rupees, or with both. An important aspect while prosecuting the accused is that the magistrate may also frame charges under sections 498A of the Indian Penal Code or any other provisions of Dowry Prohibition Act if the fact disclose the commission of an offence under those provisions and the offences are cognizable and non-bailable. If any protection officers fail or refuses to discharge his duties as directed by the magistrate in the protection order without any sufficient cause, he shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine which may extend to 20,000 rupees, or with both. This is an important law made in view of the recommendations of the United Nations Committee on Convention of Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, with an object to help women in distress who are victims of domestic violence and suffering a lot. Domestic violence is a human rights issue and serious deterrent to development. I hope and expect all women and non-governmental organizations to utilize the provisions of this law to help all those females who are suffering in view of ill treatment by their husbands and his family members, partners, brothers, fathers, and fathers-in-law and sons. If anyone needs any further information or clarification, they may approach me on my phone or website.